Hey guys, Joe DeMarco from the Crazy New York Driver Show, Friday, December 19th, 2014, with another eBay video. Topics we're going to be discussing today is what I would consider very important, and it would be eBay encouraging big box Chinese sellers onto the site. And also we're going to have a little talk about partial refunds and how you may or may not run into a problem when issuing same, and a few other eBay topics that we'll bring up as we go along. But before we get started with that, a quick rehash and something else. First of all, I've had quite a few people over the last few weeks ask about my dog Molly and how she's doing and what she looks like. So before we get into the eBay video, I'd like you to have a good look at my little girl Molly. So let's cut to the chase. Molly, come here. Molly, what's the matter, Molly? You don't like the camera? You're a good-looking girl. Come on over here, Molly. People want to see you. Come over here, Molly. People want to see Molly. People from YouTube want to see what Molly looks like. So come over and greet them. Or not. Okay, Molly, you stay right there then. Okay, as you can see, Molly was a little camera shy, and she gets that way. But anyway, let's get talking about eBay. I read your comments all about last week's video. As you recall, we were talking about selling limits. And really, nobody's in favor of any selling limits, with the exception of new eBayers who just join eBay. They need to be watched and make sure that they're going to be reputable sellers. That's understandable. But as far as established sellers, we've all heard the term rolling blackouts. And I alluded to a few things last week, and you may remember I said something to the effect, well, I don't want to say too much now, but I want to wait. Well, now I don't have to wait anymore. I got my confirmation. For source materials for today's video, I am using e-commerce Bytes article, which I will put a link below, and I'm also using one other link, which I will get to in a minute. First of all, let's start with e-commerce Bytes. I'd like you, when you get a chance, to check out the link. Now, I know a bunch of you are not going to, so I'm just going to read a couple of sentences. Bear with me, because it really is important. eBay said a new partnership with the Shanghai-based cross-border firm Winit Corporation will provide Chinese sellers with greater opportunity to reach overseas markets, including the US, UK, Germany, or Australia. All right, skipping down to another part. The partnership seeks to provide eBay China sellers with more business opportunities in categories such as home and garden, parts and accessories, and for other large and heavy products, while improving the overall retail shopping experience for the customer. You heard it, guys. Parts and accessories. Right here, old Joey. I will be affected. Well, I've always been affected by this. And I want to bring up a point about trademark and copyright violations that a lot of people don't know. Here in the United States, when you're selling an item, let's say for instance a Gucci handbag, it has to be a Gucci handbag. You can't sell an imitation and classify it as Gucci style handbag on eBay, because that's called keyword spamming, okay? However, Chinese sellers get away with this stuff and will get away with this stuff. Another important fact is trademarking or knocking off an actual product. For instance, let's talk about a Toyota hubcap. In fact, you know what? Just hold on one second. I should have brought one over. I want you to understand this, because this is really, really, really important. Okay, this is a Toyota hubcap. It's a factory Toyota hubcap, and it's got the Toyota logo. Okay? It is against the law for any U.S. seller to produce this hubcap with the Toyota logo if they are not an actual Toyota company. Believe it or not, those laws do not apply to the Chinese sellers. They can and are knocking off name brands, reproducing them. They're a much poorer quality, and they're getting away with it. There is nothing that can be done because our laws here in the US don't apply to them. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. I've showed you over the years, you can go on eBay and you can do a keyword. For instance, hubcaps, for argument's sake, is a very good one. And what's going to be loaded? All aftermarket, cheap China crap, one after the other. Now the good news is a lot of consumers know that the items are substandard and will shop around for a name brand US seller. I have noticed a lot of eBayers, especially in auto parts, are now adding banners that say USA seller or US seller. Have you guys noticed that? One of you guys had contacted me recently and said that there was a guy who's representing his stuff as US seller and USA seller, but he's really shipping out of China. I forgot which one of you guys it was, but if you could remind me who you were, I'd like to know about that again. And there are a lot of people that will shop around for a US seller. Now, I am a big fan of eBay. I love to sell on eBay. But I gotta be honest here, guys. I gotta tell you, I don't think eBay should be courting the Chinese sellers. I mean, if they really want to bring them in to our marketplace and they're going to play by the rules that we play by, well, that's one thing. I accept that. But I don't think we, as USA sellers, should have to abide by one set of rules while the China sellers can come in and do whatever the heck they want and not abide by our rules, undercut our prices, and get the lion's share of the sales. I had talked about the rolling blackouts last week, and I have heard through more than one source that the reason why eBay is imposing the rolling blackouts is to give more exposure to the China sellers. For instance, I just read to you an excerpt where it says they really wanted to get into auto parts and supplies. So let's just say there's 1,000 of us selling a certain item here in the USA. Once these China sellers come in, if they're not already, our stores will be shut off periodically to make the China sellers more visible. I have told you in the past how some days are just so booming, non-stop, and the next day it'll be nothing. And I've heard this from so many of you. Guys, it can't be a coincidence. It really can't be. And it pains me to say this. I would love to have an equal playing field. Rules have been set over the last year or two by eBay where they want us to take returns, for a certain period of time, and they want us to ship in a certain period of time, and I accept that. I do accept that. We're playing in their sandbox. We have to play by their rules. I'm just saying, please don't shut off our stores or impose rolling blackouts and cater to people outside of the United States. I don't think it's right. I'd like to know what you guys think on this issue. As I said, you may want to check out the article on e-commerce sites, and you can read it for yourself. There is another article I want you to check out. Let me just check it out here. This was told by one of my friends, and it's called theatlantic.com, and I will also put a link below so you can check this out. According to the article, when you, as an eBay buyer, search for something and a certain item is in great demand, eBay will actually tell the China sellers what that item is so they can knock it off and sell it. For instance, if there was a great demand for 1986 Chevy Caprice hubcaps, I mean left and right, and everybody was typing that in, eBay would tell the China sellers, hey, we have a lot of people looking for 86 Caprice hubcaps, and the China sellers would then start producing that product in an inferior manner, and of course much cheaper. But that's an interesting article I'd like you guys to check out if you have time. I want to now jump on to partial refunds. Partial refunds can be very tricky. Now, there are times when partial refunds are warranted. For instance, those of you guys who charge for shipping, let's say you sell a guy an item and you charge him 20 bucks shipping, but you find out it only costs 10. You may want to give him a partial refund of $10, because if he gets the item and it says $10 shipping on it, on the tag, you know he's not going to be happy. Or if you sell a guy 4 items, he gets them, and one of the 4 is broken, you may want to give him a partial refund for the broken item. That's very reasonable. But there are some buyers, and it's a very, very small percentage, that will try and take advantage and juice you. And I want to tell you about one. And the level of deception they will go through is just phenomenal. Okay? A little over a week ago, a guy sends me a question about the item before he placed his order. He said, Joe, I see the item you're selling and I'm interested in it, but I'd like to know if you will go less than, let's say, $50 to make Santa Claus real happy. Now, as it happens, the item was very rare. Okay? I'm purposely not telling you what the item is because I don't want people to go and hate on the guy. He's got to be pretty desperate to pull a stunt like this. But I wrote to him and said, Dear sir, this is a very rare item. It's well worth the amount. Let's say it was $50. And please keep in mind that I have to pay eBay fees and PayPal fees and all that, so I can't go any less than $50. You may want to try and get it locally. This way you can save on shipping. Now, of course, I know he's not going to get it locally because it's a very in-demand item. So the next day, the guy goes ahead and does a buy it now. Bang, pays full price. No problem. Don't hear anything from him. I wait a while. So I print out the label that night and it's going to Massachusetts. As soon as I upload that tracking number, he contacts me, but not through eBay, through my email. And I don't know how he actually got it. I don't know how he got my email. But be that as it may, he contacts me off eBay and says, Joe, I'm the guy that just bought the hub. My eBay user ID is John Smith. He goes, I see you have 3 more that is similar. I would like to buy those hubcaps from you off eBay for a cheaper price. Would you be willing to do that? Now, before we go on, I want to explain something to you. Using this Toyota hubcap as an example, the one he bought and paid for, let's say, looked exactly like this. But the other ones he was asking about looked ever so slightly different. Let me show you. Let's say the other 3 I had looked like this. And what he wanted to do was he wanted to change the emblems. Okay, he wanted to swap the emblems out from that to that. Now, on some hubcaps you can do that, and some you can't. So he writes to me and says, if I buy the other 3, is it possible to swap out the emblems to make them match the other one? And I said to him, it is theoretically possible, providing you have the right emblems. But let me tell you, I don't have them. All right, so the guy writes back to me and says, listen, I know someplace that's got the emblems. Will you sell me those 3 hubcaps cheaper? So, what I did was I did a bidder search on what he purchased recently. Okay? And I checked, and he did buy emblems, but he bought China emblems. Exactly what I was talking about earlier. And they will not fit. You can't do that. All right? He bought what are known as all-purpose emblems, and they have their uses, but you can't use it on a factory cap such as this, okay? So I saw what he did. So before we go anywhere else, I wrote back to him. I said, hold up. I said, did you get the hubcap that you bought for me? Did you get it yet? And he says, no, I haven't, but I'll check the mail when it comes later. I said, let's wait till you get the cap first before we do any talking. Now keep in mind, he contacted me off eBay, and I'm not comfortable with that. All right? So he gets the hubcap and he writes to me, Joe, I got the hubcap. It's beautiful. I love it. It's in perfect condition, but I don't think it's worth the money that I paid you. What can we do about this? Of all the nerve. Now, if you would have done that through eBay contact system, I could accept it. I'd just say, well, do a refund. So I know right now this guy's building up to something. He wants a partial refund on that cap, and he's going to juice me on the other 3. So I decide to head him off at the pass, as they say. What I did was I jumped onto eBay, and I contacted him right through eBay, the way it should have been from the start. I said, Dear John Smith, thank you for buying my item. I must note, for the record, that after you purchased my item, you have contacted me off eBay several times. In your most recent contact, you stated the following, and I cut and I pasted his little note to me right in there, which basically said, Joe, I love the hubcap, it's in great condition, but I don't think it's worth the money I paid. I said, if you would like a full refund, no problem. I will instruct you exactly how we go about it. Please let me know what you want to do. Okay? So the next day, I get one of those form letters from eBay that says, the buyer would like to return the item. I said, okay, here we go. He wants to return it. That didn't come as a surprise. He was going to try and juice me for money, and I didn't bite. So you would think that will end the story. No, it doesn't. A couple of hours later, and I mean only a couple of hours later, another eBayer, and I should tell you that the guy who's doing this to me has great feedback. He's not a 0, he's not a 1, he's not a 2, he's an experienced eBayer. A couple of hours later, I get a question for seller from another eBayer about the same 3 hubcaps that this guy wants. And you have to understand what makes it so freakish is that, number 1, these are for a very rare car. And number 2, the second eBayer also lives in Massachusetts. And he says to me, Joe, I'm interested in these 3 hubcaps. Would you please send me a bunch of extra pictures? I want to see what they look like up close and make sure they're in good condition, because I can see that they look pretty good. So I was 99% sure they were working in concert, but not 100%. So I said, let me phrase this correctly. So I said to the guy, the second guy, I said, could you please tell me the year and model of your car? Because as I said, the first hubcap was for one model, and the second 3 hubcaps were for another model, and I wanted to just see what he's going to say. So he tells me the year of the car and the wheel size, but he doesn't tell me the model. He's being evasive. So I wrote back to him, I said, sir, I need to know the model, and I'm going to tell you why. The real reason is, earlier this week, another eBayer, also from Massachusetts, bought one hubcap from me and wants to switch to centers. He went ahead and bought centers from another eBay seller, but they will not fit. He doesn't know this, but I know it. So I'm asking you, please tell me the model of your car so you don't get stung. He never wrote back to me. But I get a letter from eBay soon after, the very next day, or maybe even later that day. I get a letter from eBay saying, Dear Joe, has decided to keep the hubcap. He will not be returning it. You don't need to do anything more at this time. So what do you think of that, folks? Isn't that really freaky? I've always been a big fan of keeping eBay contact through the eBay contact system. I don't like when people email me. I really don't. A while back I started sending out letters, you know, when people buy something, thanking them for their purchase, saying if you have any problems, call me directly. The reason I was doing that was because eBay had set up the system so that no matter what question a person sent you, it would result in a defect, an unfair defect yet. Thankfully, eBay has changed and that's no longer the case. People can now ask us questions without resulting in a defect. And I should tell you that the reason that the guy put when he wanted to return the hubcap, he could have put not as described, but he didn't. He put, I found a better price elsewhere, which is fine because that's no defect for me. You know, and if he wanted to return the hub, I would have no problem giving him his money back, none whatsoever. I usually offer 14-day returns, but right now I'm in the holiday returns, as you know, extended holiday returns, so I would have no problem. But he never, you know, he tried to contact me off eBay and juice me, you know, and that just doesn't work. So, as I said, guys, this is an isolated incident. This is not business as usual. In fact, I can honestly tell you, I haven't had a case like this where a guy tried to juice me for money like this in years. In years. I'm only bringing it up to you for two reasons. One, it's something you guys need to know about and protect yourself in the freak of nature that it happens to you. And number two, it's not just the zero feedbackers that do this kind of thing. Sometimes it's established eBayers, and it really, you know, it concerns me that somebody would do something like this. I myself would never, ever do something like that. I just don't see any reason for it. Alright, I think I've rambled on enough. What I'd like to know from you guys when you get a chance, in the comment section, read the e-commerce bites article, okay, and the Atlantic.com article if you want, and give me your opinions on the China sellers that are going to be swooping into eBay. Also, if you would like to talk about partial refunds and my little experience, or if you want to recount one of your own experiences, that'd be great. If you have any ideas for next week's video you want me to throw out there, comment below. And basically, I guess that's about it for now. As always, thanks for stopping by and watching my videos, and let's share some eBay information and let's make some sales. Guys, today is December 19th. We only have about 12 more days of this before we get back into some normalcy, and I can't wait. Hopefully 2015 will be a profitable year for you guys. I'm Crazy New York Driver. You're not. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next Friday, right here on the Crazy New York Driver Show. Rock on.